Which is the night. I am uMngeni, and thank you for joining us tonight on In Focus in this new era of coalition talks and municipalities that are formed by major smaller parties coming together. Well, some municipalities already have mayors that are in place. Patriotic Alliance getting its first mayor in Laingsburg in the Western Cape, and the DA has taken over from the ANC at the uMngeni local municipality in KwaZulu-Natal in the Cederberg. First Residents Association is also getting a mayorship in Cederberg in the Western Cape. What can we expect from this new era of mayors? Do they have the capacity to bring significant changes? In conversation with me tonight, I'm joined by uMngeni Mayor Christopher Papas and Patriotic Alliance Deputy President Kenny Gunene. And you're a part of the conversation. If you've got some questions for these new mayors coming in, 072-110-5584, or the parties representing the new mayors who are coming in, and your views on how they could turn things around in those local municipalities. Otherwise, tweet us at Newzroom 405. Gentlemen, good evening, and thank you very much for your time.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, and thank you.
Let's start with you, Christopher. I mean, you were hoping that by Friday this thing will be sealed. You were, of course, hoping to elect a mayor, a deputy mayor, and set the government in motion. However, that meeting was disrupted because the suspended municipal manager wanted to preside over this particular process. Let us in on what those disruptions actually come about.
Yes, so again, thank you very much for having me. The suspended municipal manager is very much a cadre deployed in this municipality. She's moved from municipality to municipality, been removed in some places, and now ended up here and systematically destroyed this municipality. So she's been charged with, I believe it's 38 charges, all dismissible, ranging from gross misconduct to perjury, fraud, a whole host of items, and is undergoing disciplinary process. She took it upon herself to decide that she was going to preside over this meeting, which was in breach of her terms of suspension, which said that she cannot be in any municipal property besides that she is suspended. So we were not going to be part and parcel of an illegal meeting that could later either be challenged, but just morally it was not correct. So as the DA and the majority in that council, we decided to walk out. We are a little bit smarter than our opponents, and we went and were inaugurated at the Magistrates Court. So we are, inaugurated, sworn in councillors. We are now just to elect our mayors, deputy mayor, and speaker.
Now let's talk about that particular process. COCTA MEC saying, well, they really don't see what the challenge could be here. I mean, it is, of course, something that needs to be presided by the municipal manager, but the acting municipal manager could also preside, or otherwise the COCTA MEC from province, they could delegate someone to preside. I mean, do you feel there is a deliberate attempt at sabotaging this process? Of course, Mr. Zondi says there is no such. DA is just afraid now to take over and govern.
Yeah, this is the same Mr. Zondi who was unaware that his councillors were actually edging on the municipal manager, telling her to stay. So let's not comment on that. But what is important is that, yes, we do believe this is deliberate. The acting municipal manager is fully empowered by the law to host this meeting and to preside over it. There's no reason why he shouldn't. He called the meeting as the acting municipal manager, and then now is retracting to say, no, he's no longer the acting municipal manager, but is still in the office of the acting municipal manager. It's really confusing. I don't think he knows, his head from his tail at the moment, unless he's being threatened or he's part and parcel of the problem. Then yes. So the MEC, yeah, I mean, we know the ANC has frustrated the IFP and their councils for many, many years. So he will act all coy and shy and pretend like he knows nothing, or that he's trying to be helpful. But at the end of the day, I was part of the COCTA Portfolio Committee and witnessed firsthand how they frustrated the IFP municipalities. So that is why we are playing hardball. We're not going to sit around and wait for people to decide whether or not they're going to be helpful. We are going to fire a shot across the bow and tell the MEC, as well as any other acting municipal managers that may come along, that we are serious. We have taken government, and a democratic process has spoken, and that people need to get on with business now.
Kenny Gunene. Welcome. Congratulations on your first mayorship. Yours is not as difficult. Your mayor is now in place. Of course, couldn't speak to us. They can only speak to us on the 1st of December. So we said, let's reach out to you to talk to you about that. Was it an easy process? Is it part of a deal that you've put together with the ANC?
Yes. We had very cordial and very respectful negotiations with the ANC. They brought their team from National, led by the Treasurer General, Paul Mashatile, and the DSG, Jesse Duarte. And we decided that we need to then engage on all municipalities where the ANC might need the PA. And we found each other in most municipalities. Laingsburg was the first one yesterday, where the ANC indeed kept their weight to our power sharing agreement, and they voted with us for our first mayor ever. On the day that we registered Patriotic Alliance, it was our birthday yesterday. So it is really history for us. And this morning, we also voted for an ANC mayor in Prince Albert, and we will then get a deputy mayor there.
Now, of course, this is politics, so it doesn't always go smooth sailing. Somebody has got to come up and say something. The president of Patriotic Alliance was on the channel earlier on talking about this particular process. There was a tweet from Action SA's leader, Herman Mashaba. Let's look at that tweet and what that tweet actually had to say about this particular negotiation. Unbelievable. Hardly 24 hours after yesterday's coalition negotiations, Gayton Mackenzie is prepared to lie to South Africa with a smile about the proceedings. Mackenzie, note that you were not alone in the meeting. South Africa is in deep trouble.
I don't know why when people speak the truth, Herman Mashaba always say people are lying. I was sitting here with him, telling him about his failures in the city of Joburg, and he said I was lying. I arrived at that meeting a bit late. But when I arrived, Herman Mashaba was telling Helen Zille and Steenhuisen. In fact, he was addressing the meeting and saying, if the DA wants to get mayorship in Tshwane and the city of Joburg, then we have wasted everybody's time. Then we don't need to be here. Because the meeting was collapsed by the DA saying it wants Tshwane and City of Joburg mayor, and Mashaba was saying, no, take Tshwane, let me take City of Joburg. And in fact, in that meeting, our president, Gayton Mackenzie, said, Mashaba, we will support you for mayor. Because our agreement with the ANC is all over the country. However, you've got a situation at Tshwane where the numbers still have to play, and in the City of Joburg where the numbers still has to play. But yesterday, after realizing that nothing is going to happen here, you know, we then decided that we will then go with the ANC in the city of Joburg.
So these negotiations were purely on positions?
No. You see, the past negotiations and coalitions that we have had in this country, that is why the DA would call its coalition DA-led coalition. There's no leader in a coalition, because none of you have been given the right to govern alone. So you are all equal. Coalitions must be based on a 1 rand principle. If you have got 98 cents, you don't have 2 cents. That 2 cents you need from somebody else. Yeah. So we have learned from the previous coalitions, and these coalitions, we made it clear that we will go into coalition with parties that understand our manifesto imperatives, number 1. Yeah. And we discussed those with the ANC, we discussed those with Action SA when we met their negotiating team. Yeah. We discussed those with Freedom Front Plus. That is why they could say that we have radical policies. Yeah. And the ANC agreed with us on some of our manifesto imperatives and said, let us engage on the others.
So you have not made any compromises? I mean, from what
we have not.
I'm hearing so far, and from the conversation earlier on, is that you have prioritized having a seat at the table, at least, at this particular point.
I cannot, principles don't create jobs. So when you bring a document, like in the meeting of yesterday, you are told to read a document which is a document that speaks to an agreement. But that document must also speak to what are you getting, what are we agreeing with. Now the DA and the Action SA want to get mayorship, but they want none of the parties to raise what they want in terms of seats. But they are arguing over mayor. Now we are saying, no, we'll come to the agreement. But when we deal with the agreement, with the principles, let us already agree, because the two of you who have got the most seats are already arguing on who is supposed to take what. So what is wrong if Patriotic Alliance says, we also want an MMC position in Tshwane, we want 2 MMC positions in the city of Joburg. The time of the DA giving the people the cramps has stopped right here with PA. Yeah. We are not going to be told by a party with the majority vote what is it that we must accept. Yeah. The negotiations with the ANC were negotiations, true negotiations, in the spirit of understanding that nobody has won the majority.
Well, you've got Laingsburg. We're coming in a moment and find out exactly what are you getting in Laingsburg. But also, Christopher Papas, ngeke baphile ngo-350 uzobenzelani. We'll find out when we come back here on In Focus. If you've got questions for them as well, you can send them through 072-110-5584. Tweet us tonight at Newzroom405. In Focus continues in a moment. Back with you on In Focus, Newzroom Afrika, channel 405. Some mayors have already been sworn in. One went to the magistrate. Of course, the Patriotic Alliance clinching a deal with the ANC, and they are taking mayorship of Laingsburg. We've got Kenny Gunene as well as Christopher Papas talking to us tonight on these issues. So, Christopher, I mean, your 47.41% gets you the uMngeni local municipality. If you look at the numbers, the 21.5% of the population below the poverty line, 34.2% below the lower poverty line, 48% below the upper poverty line. You've got 2,813 indigent households in that local municipality. Your unemployment currently sitting at 18.2%. Zobenzelani abantu baseMngeni?
I think the first thing is really important, and you've mentioned it, is the Indigent Register. For any local municipality to support its to support the poor, we have to make sure that we actually know who those people are and that we have the financial capabilities. So to update that register and make sure that we understand, you know, who it is that we're trying to help is really important to get our part of the equitable share. But that's very technical, and you know, that's the boring part of governance. But the more exciting part is this, is that for a very long time our resources have been wasted. You know, we would spend 14 million rand on a stadium instead of trying to focus that on informal traders or the arts or sports, or on the youth in particular. So, you know, reprioritizing and refocusing where our money goes is going to be a vital part of how we develop young people and give them opportunities. But the second thing is this, is that for a very long time, the private sector has been made an enemy of government and an enemy of development. And I think that's a problem throughout South Africa. But in our municipal context is that there's a lot of goodwill, there's a lot of businesses, there's a lot of energy that people want to invest into making this municipality a success. But what they need is a capable partner, and that capable partner comes in the form of a municipality that is ready to partner with them and channel their resources and energy to the people who need it the most. And that is those are the future generations, the young people who have largely lost hope and have largely had to turn to other means to keep themselves busy or occupied, or through no fault of their own, fallen into the traps of social ills. So that needs to be a really big focus of what we do, is to reprioritize and refocus the energy of government and its resources into the places that need it the most, by cost cutting, reprioritizing, by making sure that people aren't skimming off the top of our tenders, by making sure that we're not investing in things such as stadiums when we should be investing in informal trade and assisting people in that way.
What is your 100-day plan? I mean, they say you already have one in place for the local economic development. If you look at the key performance areas in the last financial year, or at least the 2020 year under review, local economic development, the achievement there of the set target, only 28%. I want to say that's a very poor achievement of the local economic development. And the area which was going to be looked at is the area of agriculture, which with a lot of potential, particularly in the Midlands area. What are you going to do?
Yeah, so I mean, linking on from that LED is an agricultural strategy that has largely gone nowhere over the years. So it's worth more than the words on the paper. But it's to actually give realization to the plans and ideas that we have as in our manifesto, but also those that are out there in the public. So to partner, and so agriculture is not the only focus. The two main focuses that we have are tourism and agriculture. Where tourism, there are far more short-term wins than agriculture, but with agriculture, there are a lot more sustainable wins. So those are the two places that we want to focus. We want to make sure that we attract investment by focusing on our infrastructure, by creating incentives through rates and different rebates, by making sure that where there are resources available, that we provide credible and tangible support to small businesses, entrepreneurs, and emerging businesses. And then to partner with our farmers, with our tourism sector, to see how best we can develop skills, but also empower people and create new players within those particular spaces. And there's an appetite for that, and that's what we hope to achieve.
Yeah. So will you be getting rid of Reset and or Reset or Umeda, the programs that are targeting emerging farmers?
I think the idea behind those programs is good. The names are terrible. It makes it sound like something that comes from communist Russia. But the ideas of empowering people through agriculture is a good idea. The way in which we do that is important. So, currently government wants to be the owner of all the resources, the owner of the programs, and very little goes into training and development and empowering people. So our views will be completely opposite. How do we use government spending? How do we use the private sector to assist small businesses, emerging farmers to grow themselves through the value chain, which is really important. But that can't be done by government. Government has to be a partner. It can't be the owner of that process.
All right. Kenny, one would say you have given fairly small municipalities here. I mean, with that 9,700 or so is the population, or maybe just below 10,000. And if I look at it in terms of the financial reporting, there's very little for you to do there. As far as electrification is concerned, they're reporting 100%. Water access, they're reporting 100%, at least households that are able to get water within 200 meters. As far as waste management, they're reporting 100% with a couple of challenges. I mean, was it an easy picking? Did they just give you, let's give you this easy one as Patriotic Alliance to come in, so we don't give you one with lots of problems?
No, that was not the case. We actually negotiated to have Laingsburg. I think as a party that is going into power for the first time, you must understand that that is not the only municipality that we will be running. We will also be running Karoo, Hoogland, 100%. However, Laingsburg, as Christopher said, with where he is not far from where Laingsburg is as an agricultural town, fairly an agricultural town. And obviously, one would then have to, the fact that the residents have voted PA and obviously other parties, there's obviously some challenges that are there, unemployment.
Yeah, sitting at 17.9%.
Yes. So we will then come and say, and which is part, of course, of our manifesto imperatives, where we are saying we need to then turn small farmers into proper farmers, where they can be able to also export whatever that they farm. So we need to boost the economy of the area through our employment strategies. We must also remember that these small towns, there's so much that can happen there outside of what government is doing. One of our plans is to bring a look at these small towns and bring private investment into these areas, whether you build factories, or whether you build entertainment centers, or whether you build, as an example, truck stops. I'm not saying Laingsburg will be relevant to that, but we are saying as we are not just looking at what government is providing. We are saying we want to boost the economy, we want to create jobs, and we've got access to the private sector. We will then be able to bring outside investment into the...
People are already worried. So you've got access to the private sector, bring outside investment. I mean, one of the issues, I tell you what, one of the issues that you're going to have to deal with, for example, is the fact that old prepaid meters are not functioning when it comes to water meters. Are we going to be seeing a tender situation here where a private company is going to be awarded this?
When I talk about private companies, Thabo, I mean a company that will come, as an example, build a hotel. A company that will come and build a mall, as an example. So it's not a company that is coming to take from government. It's a company, it's a private investment that we will be bringing into the area after we have assessed the areas properly and say, here is a need for private businesses that we can bring into the communities. That is job creation, that is economic benefits. The issue of the prepaid meters, we have dealt with it. In fact, in Bichu, there was a matter that was brought to our attention where you find that if you buy a 30 rand electricity, you actually use 3 rand electricity. Because 20 rand goes to the municipality, 7 rand goes to the service provider that has installed the meters. So we then need to then say, let us cut the middleman. Let government procure these meters, and let us have people within government, people who are working for government, maintaining these meters and making sure that our people get value out of the electricity that they buy. So our plan is not to bring tenders where it actually disadvantages our people. Remember that these people voted for us so that we can make life easier for them. And yes, indeed, the issue of the prepaid meters is on our agenda.
You're going to cut the municipal 20 rand, and then they can just get it directly from the private company?
No. You see, this thing of prepaid meters, it's a private company that is installing prepaid meters. But at the end of the day, electricity still comes from Eskom or a local power provider. So instead of saying City Power, get a private person to come and install, let City Power employ people who will come and install the meters and be paid to maintain the meters.
One of the issues in infrastructure servicing is the lack of dependable contractors. You rely in that particular municipality on independent contractors, particularly to do electrical work. So how are you going to deal with that? I mean, it's a question of there is no skill in the community. Why the over-dependency in that particular municipality in outside contractors?
If there is no skill, look, it's because of the model that the previous political parties have introduced of saying, let us outsource everything. It goes to maintenance. Then the companies that maintain from outside, they don't do the 100% maintenance. They just fix a little bit so that they can come after a month, because the more they come, the more they get paid. But if you've got people that are working for the municipality who are in charge of that maintenance, the installation, then you've cut the middleman. Then our people will be able to get enough electricity because you don't have to pay somebody else. Also, the price of the meters that you are going to pay. I'll make an example with City of Joburg. You've got City Power here. Why can't City Power source electricians that can install these meters and then maintain these meters when a need arises? The fact that they are getting a middleman, then why do we need a City Power? So even in the smaller municipalities, we then need to say there are young people who come out of those municipalities, who go to study in Cape Town, who come to study at Wits, electrical engineering. Let us bring them back home to come and now give the skills back that they have. Let us do skills training for those young people that are unemployed so that they can service their communities. So it's a simple thing to do, but because of There's institutionalized corruption. For you to do corruption easy, you just have to outsource.
Right.
So for us, when it comes to electricity especially, and water, in the municipalities where we are, we need the people to be skilled so that we can create jobs for them, and then they are able to maintain their own electricity prepaid meters.
Right. Let's take a break. When we come back, we hear more from Christopher Pappas on the anti-corruption program that has been in place and what are the tweaks to that, but also we'll hear a little bit more about the filling of vacancies, especially in senior management positions. Do stay with us and the conversation continue. We've got the questions tonight for the uMngeni mayor-elect Christopher Pappas, as well as for the Patriotic Alliance, represented by uMngeni here for their mayoral candidate. You can send them through 072-110-5584. We'll take you live. They are amongst the municipalities who are almost moving ahead and putting a government in place, at least having a mayor in place, having completed their coalition talks, or the others, of course, having won downright a majority in that municipality. 072-110-5584 or tweet us at Newzroom405. Tonight on In Focus, Newzroom Afrika channel 405, we've got some mayoral elects here with us talking about what they'll be doing now, having taken mayorship of particular municipalities. uMngeni as well as Laingsburg in particular is what we are looking at. Mayor-elect Christopher Pappas and representing the mayor of Laingsburg, the deputy president of Patriotic Alliance, uMngeni, with us. 072-110-5584, taking your views tonight here on In Focus with what you have to say. So let's talk then, Christopher, about the vacancy rate, right? The annual report says 100% of at least priority, or let me say, what's the word, critical senior positions have been filled. In your campaigning towards the local government election, you said those senior positions are not filled. In fact, you were reporting of a high vacancy rate. Which one is it? I think you're muted, Christopher. Sorry, if you can unmute for us.
My apologies. The high vacancy rate is generally within the municipality, but amongst the senior management, no, there is only one at the moment, but it's not really vacant. It's the suspended municipal manager. So there's no vacancy rate there. Those are filled quite well. But generally, as you go lower down in the organogram, there are a number of vacancies that we do need to fill through the correct human resource processes.
And as far as basic service delivery is concerned, the achievement here is 25% of the set target. It's a fairly well-serviced municipality by and large. I mean, if you look at the numbers, access to water, 95%, 84% access to sanitation, 89% access to electricity. What are you going to do at least to speed up the process of ensuring that you deliver services? Because part of what you did in this campaigning is, of course, you say, dealt with this narrative of the DA around not being pro-poor. Right? And so there are a lot of poor communities that still have not been connected to electricity and to water and sanitation, for example.
Absolutely. So I mean, part of what we need to do is make sure that we stop the leakages, first of all. So when I say leakages, I mean financial leakages, because the more money that flows out of the municipality, whether it's through water pipes that are leaking water that we have to pay for, or those who can pay for electricity but don't, whether it's skimming off the top on municipal contracts, those are all financial leakages that end up stealing from the poor. Because the more money we have in the bank, the more we're able to deliver services, particularly to the poor. I mean, one of the things that we fought for example, is just before the elections, the previous administration reduced the number of free electricity units from 100 units to 50 units. Now, if you have a properly managed financial system and you are directing the resources in the right place, you can actually make those 100 units to 150 free units, thereby improving the lives of those who cannot afford to pay for as much electricity. So those small sorts of things that we want to do. But the important thing is that, you know, they say the devil is in the details. So yes, in some instances there may be, let's take street lighting. So there's an informal settlement called Shia Bazali. There were a couple of mast lights put up there. They are solar powered lights, but the light is no more than, what you take with your cell phone, that comes from those lights. So theoretically on paper, yes, there is street lighting, but when you actually go and see the conditions on the ground, there's no lighting. The same with water. You go to the Zuzawuhle informal settlement and there are 2 JoJo tanks there. Now those JoJo tanks, the water finishes in a couple of hours and people then have to wait 2 days before the tanker arrives. So on paper, there's water, but the lived experience is completely different. So there are those challenges that we need to do. We need to improve the lives of people so that when we talk about water, that there's actually proper access to water. When we talk about lighting or safety, that there's actually proper quality lighting and safety, or whatever the topic may be.
One of the areas that has been a dismal failure, which I suppose is quite critical, especially if you understand the spatial orientation of South Africa and how poor communities are being left out, for example, of economic centers, is this thing of the integrated transport plan, which really has not moved an inch. It has just literally not gone anywhere. What are your priorities there?
So my qualification is in town planning, and that is one of my passions, is to make sure that communities are connected, not just transport, but culturally, socially, economically. There must be a better integration in our society. And public transport is one of those key things that we can do that, or drivers. We are fortunate in this municipality in that we only have one taxi association, which I've already started to engage with informally before the elections, about how we can better partner to link our communities, how we can create a public transport system that best serves people in an efficient, safe way. But more than that, we need to start looking at how can we build a society, or how can we build a municipality where the economic opportunities are not far from the centers of population. So when we're talking about, let's say, township development, for example, let's not talk about car washes and shisanyamas. Let's talk about how do we create incentives for businesses to come closer to township areas so that employment opportunities are closer to where people are living, and vice versa. How do we put people closer to where the economic opportunities are?
Kenny, let's look at Laingsburg then. As far as service delivery is concerned, there's a big issue of illegal dumping and the big issue of waste water. Some homes have got septic tanks that are overflowing in particular.
You see, if you look at most of the cities in the world, there's a decentralization of functional centers, offices that must serve the communities directly. When there's a leak, you'll remember in the 80s, you would have an office in the township where you will see trucks. Where there's a leak, the maintenance people who work for government, they will go.
The office. I mean, never.
Yes, office.
That's right.
Exactly. So we need to start by doing away with this centralization of services to our people, because now you have offices centralized in town, and then they are filled with senior managers and senior officials. But the people who are supposed to do the work, there's just a few of them. So this centralization has given birth to this tendering system, where you don't even need to tender, you still tender. So this thing of illegal dumping, this thing of septic tanks, is because there are no offices in the townships that are fully functional centers to service the communities directly. So everything has been done, is being done in towns. That is why the suburbs get a service quickly when there's a leakage or when there's a blasting pipe. There is that service. So we need to decentralize so that our people can get that service quickly, that dumping can be cleaned up, but also policing must also begin to come in where we do away with this thing of illegal dumpings. Our people need to have a dignified life. Our young people are growing up thinking that filth is normal. Our young people children grow up thinking that being dirty and seeing dirt all over, it's normal. It's not normal. So these are some of the things that we are going to introduce, because now we have done a lot of research on how developed countries boost those areas that are in the rural areas. How do they assist them in terms of service delivery, but also generating and economic activity in those communities. And that is what we want to bring in our townships. So that is pure incompetence.
For example, your partners in Ekurhuleni to build another office, because now you've got to staff that office, you've got to give it equipment, there got to be cars and so on and so forth. It's an expenditure.
But when you look at that expenditure in the long term, it is cheaper than tendering. It is cheaper than getting a service provider that is going to add 100% markup on everything that they do for you. Some of them, due to corruption, add 500% markup. And that is the money that is being lost to corruption. But if you have an office of staff that you are paying, of cars and trucks that you are controlling as a municipality, remember, Thabo, most of these tendering companies, they don't even own these trucks. They have to go and rent them. Yeah. So they charge you. They pay the person for rental. They still put their own markup. So the issue of decentralizing offices for service to our people is going to be cheaper.
Let's have a little bit of debate. It wasn't meant to be a debate, but let's debate it nonetheless. Christopher, I see you're shaking your head. Decentralize services, build offices in the local municipalities. What's your take?
I've been listening patiently, Thabo, and I put myself on mute here because I told the person sitting in the room with me I'd love to debate Kenny one day. It started from his point of view on electricity, but yeah. So you know, it's a grand idea, Kenny, and good evening to you. Sorry, I haven't greeted you. Good evening to you. It's a grand idea, and you know, in an ideal world, yes, maybe those things would make sense, but you know, let me put the politics of who your coalition partners are aside and how their sort of ideology around tendering and contracts work. Let's leave that one. Let's talk about the practicality of service delivery. Service delivery is expensive, and people don't understand how expensive it is, especially when you're delivering to a large amount of people over a large geographic area. Now, it might sound easy when you say that, you know, we must insource everything. But insourcing comes with a lot of other problems. Depreciation, it comes with interest, it comes with inflation in terms of wages, it comes with labor issues, there's a lot of problems that comes with insourcing besides just the huge wage bill that you end up with in municipality. It also comes with a lot of labor-related issues in terms of skills and capacity. And that's why it's usually much better to find companies who specialize in whatever services might be. Now, why I say specialize, I'm not talking about, you know, the guy who gets a contract, who gives his friend a contract because, you know, someone else can do the work. I'm talking about a company who specializes in waste management or plumbing or whatever it might be. And then to have proper terms of reference and contracts in place that you can hold these people accountable. Because I can promise you it will be incredibly difficult to discipline your municipal officials when you've got SAMU and IMATU on your case because you haven't got enough evidence to say that your municipal employees are not working or are underperforming. And then when you have cadres deployed in your ranks, because that is who you've chosen to go into government with, who then have more political power over a lot of the councillors who you'll be sharing seats with, and then you struggle to get rid of them. So it's going to be very difficult to do those things. And that's why, I mean, in an ideal world, yes, but I think you fail to take into consideration, one, past experience in the country, but also the political context in which you're trying to deliver services.
All right, we'll get Kenny to respond to that. Let's take a break. I know you want to respond to it. We'll come back to you, and then we'll take some of the WhatsApp messages coming through as well. 072-110-5584. Questions for Kenny. It's questions for Christopher Papas. If you're in the uMngeni local municipality and you want to find out what he's got planned for you in the next 100 days. By the way, we'll bring him back here in 100 days to see if he has delivered on those plans, so he can tell us exactly what he has achieved in 100 days in office. 072-110-5584. Tweet us at Newzroom405. We're back in a moment. Welcome back. Live with us tonight here on Newzroom Afrika, channel 405 in focus as tensions are rising in some coalition talks. Some municipalities are already thinking at what they're going to do to bring services to the people, as they are already beginning to set up governments with some legal challenges in certain instances, but already looking ahead. And we brought uMngeni Mayor-elect Christopher Pappas, as well as Patriotic Alliance, who have won mayorship in Laingsburg, to come talk to us about what their plans are. So big idea of building an office. Now, I know the office. Yeah, I the office. Right? We didn't know what the office was, but this is your office seat. That's where you would pay. That's where you would report, yeah, if there's a sewage blockage or whatever it is, and those services. And you know, they were literally, you know, a walking distance, because I would walk there. I didn't even have to go on any transport, and you would get that kind of response. And he says, Christopher says, no, but take into consideration the political context in which you are dealing with here, and of course all the other considerations, particularly around the financial implications, right? You get this stuff, there's depreciation, all these logistics that you've got to deal with, and of course there's corruption on top of all that.
You see, Thabo and the viewers, Christopher talks about an ideal world. I'll deal with that. We are not saying that all tenders must be scrapped entirely. There are specialized services that government would procure from service providers. But there's really simple things like plumbing that you don't have to outsource. And let me tell you why. Because the companies that you bring in don't come from the communities. That's first point of corruption. The people that they employ don't come from communities. Our country in the townships has got so many community forums that are fighting that when business comes to their communities, they must get jobs, they must be subcontracted. So we are saying, when he says in an ideal world, that will be fine, but because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, politics. No, an ideal world is what we must create for our people. That's why we're in politics. We are not in politics to make excuses about unions. The unions must understand if people are corrupt, if people are not doing their jobs, they will be fired.
Yeah.
Labor relations must kick in.
It's not going to happen like that, because
no.
The labor relations regime doesn't sit at local government.
No, but
right?
within the law, when somebody has done wrong, when somebody is lazy, when somebody is not doing their job, people get fired. Yeah. They go to CCMA, the unions go represent them, and the CCMA at most times will find that, no, your employer was right in suspending you or firing you. They go to courts, the same thing happens. Yeah. But I'm saying we cannot make excuses that we will continue to pay more to service providers, even on services that our young people in the townships can do. We can employ and skill our young people to fix all plumbing problems in our communities. We can employ and skill our young people to fix all electrical problems in our townships. Yeah. We can skill our people and employ them to be able to deal with the issue of waste. Yeah. Those are services that don't need experts. We have those young people in the townships. Some of them have studied at technicons, yet they are sitting there unemployed. And you are bringing companies to come and do what people in the townships can do. So we are saying, and we are very much unapologetic about it, we are going to make sure that services that we can source from the community must be sourced from the community and not through tenders. And tendering gives people our jobs temporarily. Yeah. Our people work for 6 months, work for 12 months, they are unemployed after that. Yeah. Why can't we bring, and we are not saying go and build offices. There are municipal offices in every township that are white elephants. There are old clinics that have been closed. They are no longer operational because of the centralization of services to our people in the townships. But you go to Sandton, there's a clinic in Sandton, at Nelson Mandela Square, as you come in by the parking. There's a clinic. There's a clinic just here in Bryanston. Public clinics. 2 in a matter of a distance of less than 10 kilometers. Right. But in the townships, our people have to walk long distances to go to the clinics. So these things are there. We are not saying go and build new offices. They have deserted the offices in the townships where they could have been able to service our people quickly and effectively.
All right, let's quickly look at what viewers are saying on WhatsApp tonight. From Anza, here's a question for you, Azza in Bryanston, speaking of which. evening. My question is to Mr. Gunene. In your coalition with the ANC, what are the short-term service delivery projects that you've agreed on? Note that from Aza. Here's another question on WhatsApp, 072-110-5584 from Clement in Tshwane. Evening, I think this one's for you. What can we expect from the DA or the PA regarding the municipal rates? Water and electricity rates are the most expensive, and this problem was started by the ANC. So let's not discuss them, but rather how can the DA and the PA help the people of Tshwane? I suppose, from your arrangement, you'll be bringing back the ANC in Tshwane, in essence.
Tshwane, we have not really agreed on anything because we're waiting for the numbers. Yeah. They're still, remember that the negotiations are ongoing. Yeah. So we, as PA, are 99% done with our negotiations. Okay. So we still have that 1% that we need to finalize in different provinces. Even in KZN, we are busy there with finalizing those negotiations. Yeah.
So there's still a Tekwini up for negotiation with the Patriotic Alliance?
Not a Tekwini, Umsunduzi, we are finalizing that. Yeah. Newcastle, we are finalizing that. Right. And some other towns in the Northern Cape, we are also finalizing. But in essence,
if indeed you were in Tshwane in some form of coalition, yes, what are your solutions to the high electricity rates that the Clement is asking about? What are you going to do about it?
Yes. When you look at our manifesto imperatives, we are saying that national government bailed out companies, big companies that make profits, that have money in the bank, they bailed them out. But the citizens of this country were not bailed out. So one of the things that we said, in any municipality that is going to give us the power to run it, we are going to wipe off the municipal debt and start at zero. Because all these companies that have been bailed out is due to COVID. Yeah. Our people are also going through a difficult time during this COVID time. Our people have lost jobs. The same companies that have been bailed out are retrenching them. They are losing their houses, they are losing their cars, they have no income. So we need to wipe off the municipal debt and start from zero. It is part of our manifesto imperatives. And obviously going forward, when you look at the money that is lost to corruption, and when you look at the lack of competency in terms of collection from businesses, whether companies that are renting buildings from government, most of them don't even pay. Those who pay, they pay below the market rate because some people have been paid instead of government. Yeah. If you look at collecting money properly from those that can pay, number one. Number two, and if you look at if we run the public purse properly in the municipalities and we account for every cent, we can actually subsidize our people with water. In fact, in the townships or in the disadvantaged areas, people must not even pay for water. When you look at the amount of money, the trillions that are being lost to corruption, if we manage that properly, we can be able to reduce the municipal rates. And by the way, that is the intention of PA, because you see people staying in the suburbs and you think that they have money, but the debts are up to here. Our people can't breathe. So government cannot add...
Debt write-off and subsidies. I'm out of time. Christopher, very quickly, let me talk to you about 3 qualified audit opinions and widespread looting and price gouging at the municipal fleet department. What are you going to do with that?
We need to clean up. There are Auditor General's reports, there are internal audit reports, and there are SIU reports that point to a number of people and a number of politicians who have been involved in this. And key to our administration is making sure that accountability and consequence management is carried out. So we are not going to let sleeping dogs lie. We must make sure that where things have happened in the past, we follow up on them. And again, this is not a witch hunt, but it's called accountability in terms of good governance. And we make sure that we clean up there. And then going forward, obviously, we have to stabilize those particular departments and those particular units to ensure that services are rolled out. And that must be done in a variety of manners, but the 2 most important ones is building capacity within the municipality and then ensuring that we have good private-public partnerships going forward.
Christopher Pappas, Mayor-elect uMngeni Local Municipality, I appreciate your time and thank you very much for joining us tonight on In Focus. And Kenny Gunene, when are we going to hear what the outcome is for Tshwane and the city of Johannesburg? In your take, will we meet the deadline? Very brief, 20 seconds.
By next week, everything should be finalized everywhere. If nothing comes of Tshwane, I think there'll be re-election. But if a coalition happens, then by next week, everything must be finalized.
Appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us.